As you can tell, this car has been driven. It's been enjoyed. He purchased it, the story for this one is he purchased it in Germany when he was overseas working, and well, in Germany. And then when he moved stateside, he had the car imported. So it is a driver. It is a car he has touched on himself. And the reason it's coming to us is so we can get it really good baseline clean. And by baseline clean, you can likely see the wax build up on some of these rubber seals, and around the hardware you can see the heavier grime build up in some of these nooks and crannies. We'll come back to that in a second here. You can see there are swirl marks in the paint. It is not perfect. Unfortunately, there are some defects. There's not a lot we're going to be able to do to repair, such as that fractured paint right there. He's got another spot of fractured paint here and another spot of fractured paint right here. And so we're going to have to pretty much stay off of those areas. You can see more buildup in some of these nooks and crannies. We will be doing a bang for the buck kind of approach for the paint correction. And what that means is we're going to do a nice improvement, but when we're done, there's going to be a reduction in the swirl marks, but there's still going to be swirl marks there. At the same time, we will richen the color of the paint. We will bring it back to a much deeper luster. In this case, if you're familiar with these cars, you've likely seen something like that before, right there under that windshield seal. And we did pull that rubber seal back just a little bit, and the rot is a little too intense for me to do a full-on repair on that. And yet he doesn't want to have to, at this point, he's not prepared to jump in the rabbit hole of the full-on repair for that rust spot, which will very likely lead to this windshield being removed, possibly having to be replaced. In the back here, we will be doing, in kind of the same spot, center of the frame, we will be sanding that one spot down, getting some primer on it, some base coat, get a little, well, in this case, I don't believe there is a clear coat on it. I'll have to verify. I'll know after I put pad to paint. I don't know the exact history of this car. But the idea is we stop it from getting any worse. And again, it's all about bang for the buck for this. That little repair there, just enough to kind of get me by. So it's more of a stopgap. Wow, yes. So anything we do to this paint, all I have to do is pull out my polisher pad and corrective liquids. Spots like this, literally, once my machine looks at it, gives it a nice little glare from across the room, it will automatically improve. It's that rough off. And par for the course is older driven cars, the badges have a hot mess all the way around them. In this case, this one includes a snapped emblem. Other than that, what we're going to do is go ahead and get started on the wash. We're going to lift up each corner and clean out what we can here outside on the ground. And after we do the wash and decon on the paint, it's going in the shop. The wheels are going to come off. We're going to do a bit more cleaning inside these wheel arches. Again, not perfect, but it's been driven. And we're going to do something kind of similar for the inside of these wheel arches, in that we are going to, well, we'll see how this works out. It's very likely we will be retreating some of these wheel arches with the black stone guard Vert makes a product that is supposedly suitable. It's a pretty organic process that we're going through right now with the owner. He's kind of learning. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on some of these topics, such as that wheel well liner. And yet, you know, as I tell all of my clients or anyone that asks me to do something I haven't done, you know, I'll let them know, hey, I haven't done it, but if you want it done a somewhat particular way, just communicate with me to the extent you're wanting it done, and I'll do it to that extent as I would do it for my own car. And so that's what this one's gonna get. At any rate, here she is before. We'll get it cleaned up, decontaminated, and then she will be going inside, and we'll get started on those wheel arches and go from there. We are finally buttoned up on the 911, and she looks a lot better. Of course, you know, we look up now, it's diffused sunlight, and in diffused sunlight, if you know anything about paint, you know that it will look perfect. As soon as we get some direct sunlight out here, we'll be able to see to what extent everything, the paint itself got cleaned up. You can see the insane amount of wax buildup that was all over is gone. We dremeled out the rust spots in the front and the rear, added just a little bit of filler, did a very small spot blend. The exterior, the big thing was the decon, the wash and decon, to remove all the wax and excess buildup on the edges and the grime and all the stuff that a full-on detail takes care of, to get that squared away. Let's see here, and we're starting to get some sun. It's not full-blown yet. Hopefully we'll have it here in a little bit. Let's see here. Another thing we did was, I don't know if this camera's gonna show up or not, but in the wheel arches on the front and rear, we bagged off the car and cleaned it up in there. It was nice and dry. And then we did a weatherproofer on that. That's not something that I traditionally offer. And yeah, oh, here we go, we've got some sun. So you'll see there's still some here and there stuff in it, but for a bang for the buck with a sealant application, I mean, I think we really hit the mark here. The wheels cleaned up real nice, of course. You can see some of that application in here. I'm not gonna stick the camera all the way up in there. What is this? See, you start looking even further and you can see there's a little bit of tire dressing that made its way on the paint here. Fortunately, there was sealant, cured sealant on there. I'm gonna go back and clean that off. All the nooks and crannies got cleaned up real nice. Let's see here. I mean, that's mostly it. I guess to kind of pick on it a little bit more, the rear Carrera badge, as I touched on in the initial video, that was not to come off, and as such, that's as good as we could practically get it without getting overly aggressive on some of these edges and risking really making the badge that's there look even worse. So we had to have a somewhat minimalist approach to touching on that, given the age. Anything that could be practically removed for this detail, we went ahead and did that, such as the taillight covers. Those went ahead and came off, so we had access to all those little gaps in there. But overall, again, you know, this was a bang for the buck service. This was never meant to make it a Concours car. But I mean, I'm really happy with this, and I'm positive that my client's going to be tickled with it all the same. Oh, one other thing, we replaced the fog lights, the covers. They were super duper busted up. So we got those replaced for him, and yeah, here you go. I'm not gonna make more of it than it really is. It's just a really good, solid vintage car detail without going over the top. No, it was not a $500 or $600 service. It was not what many folks would consider cheap, but it was also as a single step polish and sealant application. He spent about as much on the wash and decon as he did on the sealant application and the paint correction, because so much of the labor was going into the actual wash and decon. It was such a time-consuming process to work on all these little nooks and crannies that was about the same cost as the one-step polish and the sealant application. At any rate, thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you guys around.